Hi, I'm recording this podcast from bed, not necessarily because I'm tired. Well, in a way I am because I'm pregnant, but because I think this is the place where my productivity stopped and is stopping every single day at the end of the day. It's also the place where the anxiety comes in without invitation, because all the thoughts at the end of the day are coming in and are asking yourself, hey, do you think you're a good mom? Do you think you're a good woman? Do you think you did enough? Do you think you're a good partner? Do you think you did your project really well? So I think the idea of talking who I became after becoming mom, after moving countries, adapting to new cultures and new languages, and talking from one woman to other women, this idea chased me so much. And my friends were telling me, you have to talk because you have a lot to share. And I was avoiding, I was finding so many excuses of not doing that. And I think I can blame, in a way, but in a good way, this human being who is in my belly now, that somehow I think made me finally do this. Finally come up with something intimate, something personal, and something deep, I would say, because I know there are so many women who are passing the same period like I do, who have the same feelings traveling through their bodies, but they either don't have the courage to speak about this loudly, or they don't have time, they don't have support, they don't have convenience, they don't have confidence. And I thought that my voice could give this to someone more, I've been reading constantly, I've been studying constantly about traumas, about psychological side, I've been studying, just, learning new things. And I thought, it's enough. My mind and my brain is full of information now. It's time to just transfer this to someone else who needs to hear this. So this podcast is not going to be necessarily about or only about pregnancy, about motherhood, about spirituality, about intimacy, about sex, about feelings. But it can include somehow all of these parts. But it will be mostly to talk about things that nowadays are making women to suffer and to detach themselves from their real identity. In nowadays society, the woman is struggling to find herself because she defragmented herself in so many particles that it's hard for her to come back. Even for me, I can talk from my experience. I'm living in Luxembourg for 4 years. And when I came here, I was with a toddler at that stage. She was almost 3 years old. And I knew no one next to me to just, give me some nice and warm words saying like, everything's going to be okay. It's just the beginning. It's just the start. The start is always really, really hard. And all that toddler can push that buttons inside of you that will just trigger the missing points of the daughter you used to be one day. And when this happened to me so many times, even back in Moldova, I thought that it's fine. I can call my parents. I can tell it to my husband, and then we can arrange so I can just, rest a bit, because this is overwhelming. This is too much. But when you come to a new country, when just there is no one else to be there next to you to help you, this is becoming double, triple harder. And I remember this makes me... I remember one time she was crying so hard, and she was noisy, obviously, because kids can cry really loudly. And we were in the hall coming back home from just walking outside alone, and there was an old man living on the same floor, and he came out and said like something that wasn't even in French. I think it was in Portuguese or something. And he was like, I can't anymore. Like, can you just stop? Every time when you enter in the house, you're crying, you're screaming. And I felt so bad because I was there like for 2 months or 3 months. I don't remember the time now. We just came to Luxembourg, and this made me, even now when I talk about this, I really want to cry because I feel so guilty. The way I was somehow digesting his information and afterwards solving this with my daughter. So instead of coming inside and telling her, hey, it's fine, you can cry, there is nobody in this world to tell you to not cry, you know what I did? I came inside of the apartment and I was screaming at her like, you see, even the neighbors are fed up of how much you're crying. And having this guilty up until this moment just makes me so frustrated. Because it wasn't her fault. For her, it was something new also. She was also experiencing a new country, a new space where she lost all her friends. She doesn't know any kid, so and you know, in Luxembourg when you come, especially that we came in a very bad period. We came in November, which is the worst time, climate, tell it how you want. So we were just walking through the parks, but there was nobody there because every kid goes to crash or to school. So we were alone. And at that point, I just remember a grumpy person who probably doesn't even have any nephews or any, kids or whatever. I'm not anyone to judge him, but he didn't know my background, our entire background. He just triggered another button of mine who was already exhausted. So he was like easily pushing with his words like, hey, shut the fuck up. You're like so noisy. You're crying all the time. And I feel so sorry for my daughter that instead of prioritizing her and making her feel good, I made her feel even worse. And I worked on that blame. I worked even now on this guilty feeling that I still have inside of me, somewhere in a very small room that I try to lock every time. But then when I tell it to someone, it just unlocks and just comes, I don't know, it's full of very, very hard emotions and very heavy to talk about. Anyway, what I wanted to tell is that afterwards I corrected in a way this error. And I always tell to my daughter that you can cry as much as you want. There is nobody in this world to tell you to stop crying or to make you feel that you don't have to recognize your emotions. No. Nobody in this world, because that's actually what happens to the adult female nows who were shut up one day. When they want to cry, they can't. And this is very, very bad for the body. All the emotions that cannot come out, they will stay inside. But guess what? They do not stay there calmly inside. They create sicknesses, illnesses. And you can see this in many, many, many women. You can see breast cancer. You can see, uterus cancer, you can see lots of problems related to female organs that are affected. You know that there is a lot if we talk about psychosomatics, but this can be left later for other episodes. I just want to make you travel a bit for this introduction first episode, just to understand who I am also. I'm also a vulnerable person. A woman who came to a new country, who had to adapt to a new language, and not only one, for God's sake. Not only one. To new culture, to new people, to make new friends. And the best part is wait to come. To reaffirm herself and to reshape her identity. Because guess what? From the country I'm coming from, people knew who I am. And if there was a project in where my abilities and my skills and everything which I can deliver could be used, it was easy. Oh, I know Giulietta, I'm going to call her, so maybe she's going to say yes to this project. Hey, hi Giulietta. Yeah, nobody knows you. Nobody cares who are you. And it's even worse because it's a country which is not really developed in the field I'm coming from, which is media, which is related to television, radio, and presenting and events, and nowadays more digitally saying content creation, digital creation. And it was even harder to tell them first what I do and then obviously to represent myself. But I think when we as women share our emotions and our experiences, emotionally the brain consumes the new things better and easier. Finally, we all have the same problems. If I go through the groups, the private groups on Facebook, and if I read out the women's concerns, they're basically the same one. And mostly the problems are becoming harder when they become mum. Can I just give you a number that will scare a bit and will scare a bit, and but will let you think a bit about the world we're living now. 20% of the maternity deaths are not caused. It's even hard to tell it. 20% of maternity deaths are caused by suicide and not by hemorrhages or any other, blood pressure problems or heart attacks or something that can happen physically with mums after becoming mums, after giving birth. And this is so scary. And this happens actually by the studies in between 43 days after birth and 360 and something days. This is an alarm that tells us something. I've been mentioning with my friends so many times this phrase that I'm already saying this not proudly that I said it, but just with a very big pain in my heart when I tell this. Years back, a child was raised by a whole village, by even people who weren't from the same family, who weren't even the same blood. What happens now is that a child is raised only by us. One human being, a mom, who doesn't sleep, who maybe doesn't eat properly, who doesn't have any time to put her makeup back on, not even washing herself, who has to be partner also. And the worst part comes in, she has to work also, because guess what? The prices are there and they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the society we're living in is, how can you stay home with kids? You have to work. You have to be productive. You have to be productive, but not destroying yourself. Keeping all these roles And at the end of the day, asking yourself, was I enough for all these roles? Or am I existing? Am I having enough time for kids? Am I having enough time for my husband? Am I a good project manager? Whatever. And if there is nobody in your head with a voice that can tell you, yes, you're doing well, you're doing enough, you are enough, believe me, depression is just one of the small things that can appear. We don't speak here that the other side where there are partners who don't support moms. We don't speak here about the managers who are discriminated moms because they're moms. We don't speak here about companies who do not agree that breastfeeding is part of this life also. There are like so many things that we can just stop here and talk about. But I wanted to leave you an idea about what I want this podcast to be about. In the meantime, I will think about guests and people who can talk. But for the instance, I can be, in my situation, I can be one voice to come up with ideas, to come up with informative, messages, and to debate some of the things that are happening nowadays in terms of who we are as women, how hard it is to be an expat without having anyone next to you when you are raising a kid or when you are pregnant. And then why we don't look deeper inside about what the pregnancy actually is sorting out from you yourself as a person, and how rich you become as a personality after you press or your kid presses all the buttons in you and you are rediscovering yourself. In this space of this intimate podcast, I would like also to dissolve a bit the feeling of feeling lost, because that's a very common feeling for lots of women, especially after they become mums. Once I posted a story on Instagram saying like I have the feeling while being pregnant that I'm useless. Like I don't do anything. I feel very heavy. I feel non-productive anymore. And there were so many messages coming after this posting that no, you are doing so much. Not just, I don't want to, pronounce the phrase that without women there is no continuation of this world. This is reality. But aside from that, your body is able to produce human beings, which is amazing. I mean, tell me if this is more magic, if there is any more magic, if not this one. For months, I said that I lost myself, especially the first year when I was searching for a job. I felt that there is something wrong with me. I didn't even study the market. Then I understood the market is so defragmented and so different from other markets. And then languages and culture and so on and so forth. So it took me time to understand that it's not my fault. It's just a different world where I have to adapt, reinvent myself, and stop saying that I lost myself. I adapted myself for survival, for success, for love, for belonging, even though belonging, there is something we have to understand and accept. We don't belong to a place where we haven't been born on. Your roots, you're a tree, your roots are only there where you've been born in that country, next to that people. I'm not different from that. I will never feel 100% well in a foreign country because I belong to the place where I've been born on. I belong to that fontana from my village, to that lake where I was swimming in next to the forest. And even though the country you're migrating to is giving you in the shops or in the supermarkets, maybe your food from your country, or is maybe giving you some events that may feel you a bit close to what you belong to, still is not the same. And you can challenge yourself as much as you want, it's like the plants that I was changing the other day with my daughter. I was changing the soil. You can change the soil, but if the plant doesn't feel well, it's useless. It's useless. Now, my body is forcing me to be still, to enjoy this period. And if there are pregnant women watching me, and you have the same feelings because of the hormones, because of whatever backgrounds, enjoy yourself being pregnant, because this is magic. One, feeling someone moving inside of you and producing this connection with you. And the period is really, really short because the movement starts at 4 months. So actually it's like only 5 months when you really feel a very deep connection. Allow yourself to just be you. Not perfect, not finished, not fully integrated, but just you. I will be happy if my short episodes will get to the right women and will make them feel better and will make them become a community in the end where we can be supportive to each other. Because another side that I'm discovering nowadays, which is really, really ugly in between women, there is a huge envy of who is the best, who traveled to Maldives, because we have Instagram and everyone is really able to compare to each other. So I would suggest to stop comparing and to kill this comparison, because there's no one in this world to be exactly like you. As moms, same as people, we are all different. We have to allow ourselves to use the exact resources that we have, not more and not less, the exact resources that we have. Because behind every picture that you see on Instagram with Maldives or perfect mom with done hair, good makeup, kids fed, and glowing house, maybe there is a very dark background that you don't know about. Maybe her husband is beating her every single night. Maybe he's cheating on her. Maybe she doesn't know anything essential about her inside. She's just surface. And don't forget that the people who are happier on internet usually are very sad in reality. Don't judge. Watch if you want, but don't compare yourself. As I said, this isn't a podcast about or only about motherhood. It's not a spirituality podcast, and it's not a productivity advice. It's a space for women who did everything right and still feel that something is missing. So let's refill that side. Let's refill that empty space that you feel inside. From bed we unlean, from stillness we see, and from honesty we rebuild. That's why I invite you to follow this podcast, and if you want, be next to me, because I'll be next to you with love from another woman to other women.